Thank you, Noreen. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first panel discussion for the day today. Harvard Business Review published an article in 2019 on digital transformation, where it was mentioned that yet 70% of all digital transformation initiatives do not reach their goals. Of the 1.3 trillion that was spent on digital transformation in 2018, it was estimated that 900 billion went to waste. But despite of budget concern triggered by the COVID-19 outbreak, according to IDC report published in May 2020, global spending on digital transformation, especially technologies and service, will grow 10% in 2020. So it is really challenging for the world to know how to reach their business objectives by doing the right thing right. Today, we will have some insights from some of the great leaders from different industries of Bangladesh to discuss what not to do during digital transformation. Let me introduce today's panelists. We have Mr. Shyamol B, Chief Digital Officer, Mutual Trust Bank Limited, Bangladesh. With us, we have Mr. Arfe Elahi Manik, Chief Technology Officer, A2I, ICT Division, Government of Bangladesh. And we have Mr. Adnan Khan, Head of Track Operations, Ticket and Rides at Shohoz, a leading online service platform in Bangladesh. To start with, over to Mr. Shyamol B. Digital Bangladesh is the next big thing for any bank in Bangladesh to take the competitive edge. While planning for your bank's digital transformation projects, can you please share any experience that you have done during the project, and then after the project, you realize that you are not supposed to do those activities? Any lesson learned from your digital transformation project, Shyamol, please?
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible? First
Yes.
of all,
Yes.
all right, great. Good afternoon, everybody, and all the respected panelists, and of course, the PMI Bangladesh members. It's a pleasure to be here, first of all. And I think Mahatab Bhai has given a fantastic presentation, and where he has said almost everything that started from the industrial revolution to the digital transformation in the fourth industrial revolution. So going back to that, actually, in terms of the banking digital transformation in Bangladesh, even though many of us claim or we say that we are in the digital transformation or are doing that, where we have become a digital bank, I would give a different perspective, even though I am the Chief Digital Officer. Why my role came, I will of course explain that as well. Because in digital transformation, the first thing you need to do is define the roles. You know, we tend to go into we think, okay, put a IT division under the IT division, put a digital officer or put a digital somebody who can transform the organization. You know, that's the biggest mistake when you are really doing the. So I will start with the mistake, Zahir Bhai. So you know, then what happens? We expect that person to really come up with some of the digital solutions like apps, chatbots, and different things, and then integrate into the IT, and then we think that, you know, the organization is becoming digital. That's the biggest mistake. So my role, actually, I choose while I was in Bragg Bank, I am at MTBL now, that if we really mix up with our regular operation or your processes with the digital thinking, that is the biggest mistake you're gonna make. So somebody needed to really understand the organization from the perspective of business, operation, and then IT, and then reinvent the processes, look at things at a different way. That is the new way of doing things. And that's how the role been defined as Chief Digital Officer, who would look into the organization, operation, process, businesses in a different angle, in a different way, not in a very conventional way, the way the bank. Of course, as a bank, we need to really look into regulations. We need to follow certain Bangladesh Bank rules. That stays in the place. But when it comes to innovation, it comes to product, characteristics and different thing. If you really think the same way, That is the biggest mistake we'll do in terms of digital transformation. So as I said, that's how I became the CDO. So it's not that I have made my bank completely digital and I became the CDO. So I would like to mention that very clearly to all the members who are attending over here today. Yes, my role defined so that I can turn the bank into a digital bank. That's how I'm looking at things. That is the first thing. So remember, do not mistake of putting just people in the IT or some IT people just to do the digital transformation. That is the wrong step that you can do. Second thing that you can look into is that don't always do inward thinking. Inward thinking is, okay, this is how most of the banks are working. This is how we need to work. These are the competitors who are doing like that. We need to do like that. That is the biggest mistake. Don't do those things. See, in digital transfer, that means when it comes to project, okay, the other bank is doing a big project. We also need to do that. Why they're going to do this? That is the biggest mistake. You need to look inside what is needed for in digital, we call it MVPs or minimum viable product. What is the minimum viable product that we need to do immediately to address the company's immediate need, which will bring revenue, reduce cost, bring efficiency, increase productivity. These are the things. It's not just digital. You bring lots of apps and solution and you become digital and you go into the market. And that is where I think Zahirul Bhai, you mentioned that most of the digital project doesn't reach its goal or it loses billions of dollars because people just try to do automation with a lot of beautiful things. That is the biggest mistake they make. So we need to look into a lot of MVPs, as I say, do that. So do a lot of inward thinking. That's very, very important. First, see what is needed. First, look at the processes. And one more mistake people make is they try to automate the regular processes. So as a result, what happens when you try to automate the regular processes? Yes, you automate or you bring a digital app there or digital solution there. Then what happens? You again fall into you only just automating the everything. That is the biggest mistake again. So whenever you take a project or a solution or an idea, please first look into the scope of it. What is needed? Why is it needed? And do we have to really follow the same conventional processes or need? No. One thing everybody nowadays saying, why are we getting threatened by the fintechs? Because they're thinking different. They are again nothing but a bank in a different way. They do not have the regulations. They may not have the, much of regulation. I mean, they are getting regulated, by the way. But you know what I'm trying to say? Why are you saying like this now that we have to think like fintech? It was always there. It's just like, AI or robotics process. AI was there. Just think what Mahatab Bhai also showed. Google car nowadays that they're putting the camera and they can detect a person is crossing. They can automatically brake and all. Do you think we're only experimenting it now? No, we have experimented 10 years back. Only thing the difference was the technological difference. The technological difference was at that time the camera FPS or frame per second was lesser. So as a result, it could not recognize or it could not detect the person or the movement. So as a result, what happened? And the cost was higher, technology cost. So as a result, the AI or different kind of robotics process didn't take faster, shift. So if you really see that the technological cost has started going down, the chips started going down, the process started going down, and the innovation started coming up. So what happened? Nowadays, almost Tesla, everybody has auto-driven cars. Why? Because the technology cost has gone down. So you can do much more faster. You can use much more faster camera to do this. But what I'm trying to say here, I'm sorry I took a long description, but why? Because what I'm trying to say that they experimented, and they have reached here. The same goes for most of our organization. Digital is not a big bang approach. The day you do big bang approach, the day you try to do a big project and try to go for it, you have lost your scope, you have lost your goal. I'm telling you, this is how the billions of dollars has gone because everybody tried to compete. Do not try to compete. Try to be different. If you try to compete, then you will lose it. So that's the mistake many organizations make. So in our organization, what do? We take every solution in a smaller way, smaller scope. We say, let's see what happens. As I'm referring to Mahatab Bhai again because he's covered almost everything. I mean, we are whatever we say, it'll be too less. So going back to that in our organization, when we take a solution, first we take a very small scope. We take a little bit of user perspective, and then we try to bring some, we call it FGD or focus group discussion with customers. We create it, we show it to customer, we take their feedback, again, we put it. So as I said, the experimenting and the chance of failure has to be higher. So what happens, see, when you work in the bank or any other organization, we try to, oh, you can't make mistake. Why have you failed in this thing? I need perfect on the day one, this solution. That is the biggest mistake. In my career, I wouldn't take the names, but, there are organizations where I worked, we tried to do, no, you have to go perfectly, do everything. So the project took almost 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years. And by then, the market has already gone far. So you understand, you already failed. So the digital transformation failed. What do you need to do? What we do now, we take experiment, add, and fail, and then learn, and then take customer feedback. And that's how you go. And that's how the digital will start doing in your organization. And also, as I said, the leadership is very important. As you can see that Mahatabha has already shown how important it is to own the digital transformation in an organization by the chief. And that's how it gets. And also, sometimes we feel that we putting the best experienced people in the digital transformation is another mistake. In technology, we try to bring the best. Oh, you have the 20 years of experience. Oh, this guy is the best programmer. Let's put him in the place. That is another mistake. Please don't do those things. Take who can think innovative. It doesn't matter with the age. He can be a 50 years old person, 45 years old. He can be the 26 years old, recently recruited. But if he has a different way of looking at your organization, different way of looking at the solution, in IT, nowadays I don't take IT people. I take IT people with a lot of business background, because I told that I don't want techies, because there are thousands of techies in the market. I can always take techies, but I can assure all of you, and I'm sure many of you are the chief of big organization, where you will see it's very difficult to find a person who understands the business, technology, and processes. You'll find purely techie or purely business, but you will not find a mix of that. So you need to build those kind of people. So that is another approach. With that thinking in our organization, the first thing, we try to give it to IT people, some business, hey, you guys run it. That was a mistake. What we did, we chose 200 people from the organization. We said we'll train them up in what is digital thinking, innovation, what others are doing, not the bank, what others are doing, different industry. Look at them, what they're doing. As Mahatabhai gave some example, Fuji, many of this thing. And, we need to think like the fintechs, and then we can, I think we can do better. And of course, as I said, experiment and other thing, an incremental approach. That is the thing we need to do. Always the incremental. And another thing is, do not have in technology and in project management. Sometimes we always say, as you say, resource, cost, and the schedule, the time. So that it doesn't have to be like that. I think project management also become agile. So nowadays, for digital transformation, we are trying to become agile. That is very important. Do not keep a fixed mindset. That is what many of the technology people or in our project management, many of us, we try to be fixed. No, it has to be like this. No, in digital, we have to be very agile. You fit as it comes. That is one thing you need to remember. Also, one more thing we do in digital, which we should not do, is a lot of analysis. And the analysis, we do so much, it paralyzes us. And when we become, as we call analysis and paralysis. Once we do the analysis and paralysis, it doesn't go any further. So please, in digital, don't do too much analysis. Just experiment and do it. Trust me, we'll do that. And we call it also the threat of technocentricity. That digital means everything technology. I mentioned it many times, but again, I'm mentioning. Digital means technology. Technology is not technology. Please, we need to come out of that. We need to put that thinking into our technology people. Learn the business, learn the problem, address what is needed, and then only you can do it. And also the leaders. We cannot go into technology. And at the end of the day, cultural blindness. As I said, oh, this is how I do. I will not get out of this. Okay, this is how the banking works. I will not get out of this. This is how the process works. I cannot get out of this. So when I run a project, that's why, in digital, what we have done, we have chosen 200 people, as I said. They will be running, they will be the future leader for the bank, who will be shifting the bank to the digital era. Because if they do not think, they will become like our organization has 2,400 employees. They will become like other 2,200 employees. When you become like another 2,200 employees, the digital will never succeed. So we need to create that leadership to go forward, think different. Then only we can push the frontier. And that is what we are trying to do. And I believe that these are the mistakes. And also the last but not the least, please do not try to work in silo. And our technology people, we have that habit. Don't do things in silo. and then of course digital will fail if you do in silo. And the last, I will say, remember, we all have data. Again, Mahatab Bhai has shown it. What data can do. If you have the data, trust me. And if you look at the data, do a lot of analysis on data. Do not do analysis on business process and other thing. Then you'll become paralyzed. But do a lot of analysis on data. Trust me, that is the way to go into digital. That will give you so much insight. Others are doing, other industries doing, and this thing. And that's all from me, Jahir Bhai. I think I said enough. I think the time is about 4 minutes. I think I took more than that.
Yes.
That's all from me.
Thank you. Thank you, Shyamol. We will get back to you with a lot of questions. Well, we all learn from our mistakes. Having clear objectives of the project and its perceived benefits communicated with all the stakeholders in time is the critical success factor of a project, actually. Well, A2I, access to information, is a whole of government program of ICT division that catalyzes of citizen-friendly public service innovations. Mr. Arfe Elahi, the projects that you are involved as CTO of A2I are all digital transformation projects to change the country. Your projects are supported by Cabinet Division and UNDP as well. I'm sure you have a big list of do and don'ts during the projects. Can you please share us what are the don'ts and not to do list during your digital transformation project and why? Arfe Elahi, please.
Jahir bhai, unfortunately, Elahi bhai একটু leave out করছে কারণ ওনার বাবা হঠাৎ করে sick হয়ে গেছে।
Okay.
উনি বের হয়ে গেছে, unfortunately, sorry.
Okay. Sorry, let's pray for his family members get well soon.
His father is 90 years old, so unfortunately.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. So let's move to Adnan, but before Adnan starts, let me tell a bit about Shohoz. Shohoz is a premium online and on-demand service provider committed to make our life convenient. Shohoz is a Bangla word which means easy. As a technology-first company, Shohoz developed tech-driven solution for the everyday challenges of Bangladeshi people. Mr. Adnan Khan, being the head of truck operations, you are working on mitigating the logistic challenges of the country. You worked with Pathao and now you're working with Shohoz. What was not Shohoz or easy for you and your team as part of this digital transformation for the country? What is your not to do list during the projects that we are working now? Over to you, Adnan.
Thank you so much, Zohir bhai. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful question, and I'm really privileged and proud to be a part of this panel. The question, as easy as it sounds, it's absolutely non-Shohoz. That's a very difficult question, finding out what not to do. It's something we're still learning on the go, and many things have already been touched upon by Shyamol Da. So some of the things I might repeat, and some of the things I'll touch upon my business experience of Shohoz and Pathao, working in both the companies. So to start with, the first thing that we learned in both the companies about what not to do is having monolithic architecture. So what that is, so what happens is the startups that initially started in Bangladesh, most of the companies had their own monolithic architecture. So by that, what I mean is the architecture could only support a particular standalone business or operation. It was not scalable. It could not be scaled to different businesses or the same business. If the process flow changed, it was not quickly adaptable. So that makes the whole business very non-lean. So here what we can learn is the architecture upon which the app will be made must be aligned with the business vision, the business mission. If your vision is such that we have in Shohoz is building a super app, your architecture should support that as well. Your architecture must be scalable. So that is the first thing that we learned, which is of architecture. For a non-techie like me, if anyone is present in this discussion, architecture is like a foundation of a building. And if you want to make a big building, your foundation has to support it. Similarly, if you compare that building to your business goal and vision, your architecture must be that foundation. So I think that's a big don't that we learned the hard way, something we're still working on. And I felt it was worth discussing. Another point that already Shyamolda touched upon is analysis paralysis. Sometimes we do overthink, but what we learned across the last few years is actually done is better than perfect. We need to experiment and actually find out on the go what is perfect. You cannot, in an Excel, in a PowerPoint, in a doc, you can never make a perfect plan. Things you will learn on the go. So we can start small and then scale. Scalability is the magic word that we learned and which we depend upon. Moving on to the next point is being data driven. Sometimes what happens is in a startup like ours or Patha, we have to make so many decisions on the fly that at times we take decisions based on instinct. I think what happens is at times that leads to mistakes, that leads to costly errors. Errors are okay, but if they're backed up on data, it's more efficient. So data-driven decision is very important. Taking decisions solely upon instinct is a don't, as per me. Then moving on, say for example, the businesses that I run, ticket, truck, ride. If I give one example, like ride sharing, when you are digitizing, when you're going through a digital transformation, you need to consider the whole value chain. For example, we didn't only make a user app through which a user can place a request for rides. We also needed to make a driver app, which made it convenient for a driver or anyone who wants to be a driver to have an earning. So uh, when you're going to a digitization, considering the whole value chain is very important. Moving on, when you're going through a digital transformation, you need to spend, and we usually do spend on technology. But one thing we should not forget is spending money on learning. The person who will use the technology needs to be able to use the technology efficiently. And that is where sometimes we also would need to spend money. And moving on, the next point would be, you would obviously need a tech team, a product team. At times for efficiency, what some of the startups do try is outsourcing the whole tech team. But what we have learned the hard way, you cannot be totally dependent on external stakeholders for something as precious as tech. So at least bare minimum, your maintenance team should be in-house. Another very important point is, when you are going through a digital transformation, don't do it because it's a buzzword, because it's fancy, because it's fashion. Do it because you need it. The digital transformation that you are going through must be aligned with your company mission, vision, and your goal. Once that is aligned, second step would be aligning every internal stakeholder. Your HR team must be aligned with your digital transformation plan. Your marketing team must be aligned. Your product team must be aligned. Your operations team must be aligned. It's not a tech standalone issue. So that's something, that's another important thing that we learned. And yeah, that's about it. I think I've touched upon all the points that I had, and the rest of the points have already been spoken by Shyamolda. So thank you so much for advice.
Thank you, Mr. Adnan. Well, all digital transformations are implemented through change management, which consists of people, process, and tools. One of the biggest challenges during digitization project is that employees fear of being replaced by technology. When employees perceive that digital transformation could threaten their jobs, they may intentionally or unintentionally resist the changes. Question to Mr. Shyamol Dash, as Chief Digital Officer, how you are handling such challenges and what you will not do as a leader. Please, Shyamol Da.
Thank you. Great question. I think that is become a almost a very common question in almost all the webinar, and this thing, I think COVID has taught some of these this what to do. Anyway, one point I would like to say here, while you are doing digital, I covered in the last question that while you are doing digital transformation, one of the most important is that creating the roles, what people will do, whose job is what. If you do that, then people know where you are heading. And also, I think Adnan Bhai also covered very well the mission, vision, the goal of the organization. When those are covered, those are communicated to the lowest of the pyramid, then people know where they're going. The problem is this kind of propaganda in the organization or this kind of message is created by the employees when they're not communicated the benefit of it. The problem is they think, oh, it's coming, but what is it coming? They don't know. So as a result, what happens? Everybody thinks, see, I tell you one very interesting area, loan origination product that we do in the bank, where, many people just sit there, they do a lot of entry, or, we do robotics process automation. So as soon as you do those kind of solutions, people think, oh, my job is gone. Why? Because the robot will do all my, the software robot, the software solution robot will do all my job, and the data will be automatically inserted, which means that in the operation, 30-40 people can immediately be reduced. Okay, I cannot deny that. It's a very difficult question, as I said. But again, what we should do in the organization, if you really communicate, if you really discuss, they know what's going to happen. They will always think about reskilling themselves. That is very important. And one thing I told my management while I discussed it, recently COVID has taught us many things. One thing they taught us that you can work from home. Even though how effective it is, still you do not know. Because still this is a 70-30 or 60-40 going on, Some people say, no, it's not very effective, but people are saying, oh, it's very effective. To be honest with you, people sitting from home, I found out, I'm saying only my example, again, don't quote me anywhere, please. I'm only quoting in front of 100 people over here. About 15% productivity we've seen in our operation, and some of our employees told us, sir, it's a lady employee with due respect. And she said a very good statement, says, sir, in the office, we used to come at 10, we used to go at 6, 7, maybe 8 o'clock, sometime with the pressure. But, it was fixed. And, I do many things in the office, beside doing my prayers, eating my food and blah, blah, blah. So she said, at home, I have 24/7. Of course, I sleep for some time. But, I have the flexibility to do such things. So which means that immediately tomorrow, we have been thinking of remote office. And you will see very soon, probably we'll be launching it within next 1 month. We'll be making about 700 to 800 people work from home with a very sophisticated solution. This thing. Does it mean, and what I'm trying to say, when I try to do that, most of the executives and senior department came running to me and said, does it mean that the position also will go? Does it mean that we'll be reducing people? What I said, see, doing that doesn't mean that the position will go. It's just we are creating flexibility, we'll observe. Again, it's a kind of experimentation that we'll do and see if it increases our productivity. We call it that rearranging the people rather than removing the people. What I mean by rearranging the people is, see, every year, let's say operation is growing. Let's say they do, I'm just giving numbers, 10,000 loans. So next year they targeted 20,000 loans. So 10,000 loan is done by, let's say, 200 people. So that means 20,000 loan means you need close to 400 people. No, not that, maybe 300 people or maybe 250 people. What do we say? When you bring automation in those areas, do not recruit new people. Just reassign the people into different areas. You get my point? So what I'm trying to, with such a long example I gave, I just trying to break the myth that doing automation, doing digitalization is not removing people or reducing the number of people. It's just rearranging them or realigning them with different aspect. What they need to do. See, people also need to understand that what Adnan Bhai said, the monolithic thinking, or the if they try to be always in the same old culture, they also need to change. See, as an organization, we need to move. We need to bring new solutions. We need to bring new technology because we need to grow. We need to bring efficiency, productivity. Now, my question is, which I saw a fantastic question came, which probably I'll give in the question answer session. But I'm just giving that. Does it mean that I will bring technology and you will be on the same mindset, same way of working, sitting there? What do you expect? The organization to keep you there? No, the organization will never keep you there. So as an employee, it's me, even me. I also think like, okay, typical, the way I think as a like CTO or an IT head or a CDO. Okay, this is digital. Bring few apps. We are done. Hey, that's digitalization. You think the organization, when the management or the board's eyes will open, they will not find out that I am just bringing few apps to just show that this is digitalization? No, trust me, even I will be kicked out of the company. So we need to think like that yes, digitalization will come, things will come. solutions will come, we also need to improve ourselves. We also need to reskill ourselves. Yes, now you can say, can employee be reskilling themselves? No, it is the job of the organization as well. What kind of digitalization you are bringing in? What kind of a skill set is needed? You must have heard nowadays a very common few skill set are coming. You know, HCD, UI, UX, very, very big buzzwords. But does it mean that everybody can learn it? No. You can align them into such kind of technologies, make them understand what are these. HCD is nothing but human-centric design. When I say that, a lot of people think, oh, this is IT. How can we really do that? This is not IT. This is how you build your product, how it is thought from the customer point of view. If you do not think like now, when I call customer, a lot of our executives think customer means, oh, it's outside customer. How can I meet them? I said, no, customer means your internal and external customer. How does your internal customer want service from you? If you can serve that, you will understand the external customer. You need to serve your internal customer better. Otherwise, you cannot serve your external customer. So internal customer means your business, your operations. Help them to learn, think in a different way. Design the product, how they think, how they want it, and they're thinking how it is aligned with the external customer. That is what. So going back to what I'm trying to say, that as Zahir Bhai, you said that people think that the person, he thinks who doesn't upgrade himself. He is the person who's insecure, who always thinks I'm going to do this way, not in a different way. The person who doesn't have an innovative mind, he always thinks that he will be laid off. Why? Because he doesn't improve himself. So I really do not agree with that kind of myth or such a propaganda in the industry that digital is coming and people will lose job. I can assure you what Mahatab Bhai said, I'll finish with that. When the first revolution came, people used to be in horses, you know, and only horses was our only transportation. So the city used to get dirty by horses, you know, all the secretions, you know, different kind of thing, you know, their waste. So there are people who used to clean the street, all these secretions, all this waste from horses. So when the first mobile motor vehicle was coming, as Mahatab also said, people thought all these people's jobs are gone. Because it's just like that, you know, when the garment is getting automated, you know, yes, as I said, some automation comes, yes, that is lost. You cannot assure everywhere. But what I'm trying to say, organization like telcos, like banks, where smarter organization, instead of, see, in government, it's a more labor intensive. So if you can automate it, of course, there will be certain people will be lost. You cannot help it. That's how industrialization happens. But in terms of smarter organization, where you know white collar jobs and all, it's not always that you lose your job because digitalization is coming. You have the option to upgrade yourself. Maybe that poor person doesn't have the option to upgrade themselves, but you have the option. So Zahir Bhai, I would disagree with that. It is the myth that people will lose their job. I would say it will create high level skill based. It will create many ways of people to learn new things, many ways to do new things. I don't think it will make people lose job, but it will increase their value rather if they can learn. And the organization who are transforming, and if they can be a member of that organization who can learn this thing, I can assure you that person will be most valuable in the industry. That's all from me, Zahir Bhai. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamalda, for your positive words. Over to Adnan Khan. It is said that digital transformation is about people, not technology. And it requires a mindset shift and behavior change. What are the challenges that you and your team facing to change the people mindset and behavior to adopt your solutions in Bangladesh? Adnan, over to you.
Thank you so much, Zaib. Another very powerful question, and I think a very good question, something that once again I learned on the go. So when it comes to mindset, a mindset is an adaptive change, and this doesn't happen easily. One of the main things that my bosses have taught me in the companies that I've worked, which are driving digital transformation, is the need to unlearn and relearn. And I think normally people working, us Bangladeshis, we are all emotional people, we are all proud people, we are all proud of where we come from. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to unlearn what we learned in our universities. But probably say, for example, marketing, the things that the book of Kotler have taught us might be very relevant in some industries even today. But when it comes to our industry, things are quite not relevant anymore. The world have moved on. For example, we need a lot of skilled professionals for digital marketing. But it's a very scarce resource, mainly because we don't have much digital marketing content in the Bangladeshi curriculum or in the Bangladeshi universities. Then when it comes to product management, once again, across all the industries in Bangladesh, it's a very scarce resource. Um, if people learns them instead of the traditional courses that they learn, they might get high wages, high salaries, and they might have a very good career both here and abroad, but they don't know that. But that's a challenge that we often face when we take graduates from Bangladesh or from the universities. We also have people who have studied abroad, so that's the difference that we see. Some people who have studied in some Bangladesh universities, it's a bit difficult for them to unlearn and learn new things. So that's something we're working on, which is why in our HR department we have organizational development and training. That is what they focus on, and that's something we're working on. Next, something once again I touched upon in my last answer, taking decisions on gut and instinct. That is something happens all through the org, which is quite detrimental to the cause. Even if you are an executive, even if you're a senior executive, every decision that you take must be data oriented. That is something we're working on as well when it comes to mindset. Secondly, the tech team that we have, most of the developers that we have are essentially from Bangladesh, who have been taught in Bangladesh, and they're very good. When it comes to developing an enterprise solution, they're awesome, they're very good. Something we are also working upon is upon changing their mindset is whatever they do is not only about writing fancy codes or writing codes. You need to look at the bigger picture. You need to look at the architecture. Building an efficient architecture is more important than writing efficient codes. So that's something when it upon the mindset we're working upon. Architecture is your future. Don't think about having a fancy feature today. Think about making the business feasible in 4 years time, 5 years time, 10 years time. Work upon that. So that is something we are teaching our employees as well. Another important point is, as Shyamol slightly touched upon as well, digital transformation is very fast paced. Things happen very fast. So at times, everyone working across the organization understand there's a skill gap across every rank. But at times, it's difficult for us to acknowledge that skill gap. Unless and until you acknowledge your skill gap, it's very difficult for you to learn that that is your improvement area and work upon that. So that is another aspect that we are looking upon. And yeah, that's about it. Sorry if I
Thank
can't
you.
hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Adnan. Yeah, it was a good discussion.
Thank
Well,
you.
this panel discussion is part of Project Management Symposium 2020, and our purpose is to promote project management to ensure success of your project. Well, we are almost to the end of today's discussion. I will have same questions to both of you. You all have the list of what not to do during your digital transformation project by this time. I have also written down at least 15 of them. I will go through. But how you will ensure that your project is following this list by doing what activities in your project management? Adnan, starting with you.
Thank you so much, Zahir bhai. Repeating myself again, we work in a very fast moving environment. So project management is extremely crucial to our success. So what we try to do is follow some basic project management philosophies and learnings that we have. So every work that we have, speaking in a high level, is divided into planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling. It's very important. So in the first phase of planning, whenever say we are setting a roadmap, we are setting a 1-month plan, we are setting the plan for a 2-week sprint, we ensure the items in the don't do list are not included in that, first of all. So that's the first layer of check that we have in planning. Now, once that is done, once the roadmap is set, the strategy is set, we have 2-week sprints. So before the start of every sprint, we have a sprint planning session where, based upon the overall objective of that sprint, we divide the work into tasks, and each task is assigned to individuals who are briefed upon that task as well. And then we commit to a time frame that X amount of tasks must be completed by Y time. So that is extremely important. And then it is communicated to the rest of the team. So that is the sprint planning done, the task divided. And across those 2 weeks, we have everyday morning stand-up sessions. So in the morning stand-up sessions, there are only three questions that we ask each other. First, what did you do? What was the progress of the work yesterday? What did we learn from them? What are the major priorities for today? Are there any blockers in your priorities for today? Where can we help? The top management, where can we help to lift your blockers? So that is done, and this is done religiously every day. The morning stand-up is very important at Shohoz. Then once we reach the 11th day or the 12th day of the sprint, when we are towards the end of the sprint, we have a review session where we discuss, yes, we had an objective for the sprint when we started. Where are we with that objective? How far did we accomplish? Is this feature good to go? Can this be released or not? And then we do our testing, whatnot, before we go to the final release. Whatever we release is tested extensively. And at the end of the sprint, we have a sprint retrospective. So obviously, across the 14 days of working with each other to achieve a particular goal, we got to learn. We got to learn a lot from each other. So, what are the things that we can do better in the next sprint? That is what we discuss in retrospective. What can be done better? What did we do wrong? What should not be done? What can be done more? So these are the questions that we ask each other. Based upon that, we also have continuous improvement plan for every talent that we have working in a sprint. Every talent is very crucial. And as we know, working in a market like Bangladesh, it's very difficult for us to build talents from scratch. So the continuous learning philosophy is extremely important and contributes to our success. Last but not the least, we do have some very good productivity tools which helps us, like for example, Planner, DevOps, Microsoft Teams. They extremely help us to drive our work forward, and that is how we are operating today. I hope I managed to answer your question.
Thank you, Adnan.
Okay.
Well, over to Shyamol Da. Any more points or activities to add to project to ensure not to-do list is missing?
Thank you, Zahir Bhai, Adnan Bhai. I think Adnan Bhai has touched upon a very detailed this thing. Unfortunately, I do not work in that detail level, but I, of course, worked with Zahir Bhai in the past, I think. And I work with Shadat, who's, I really adore him immensely from the PMIBD member. Is a brilliant project management because I worked very, very closely with him in the past in our organization. So for me, I would be fortunate to work from a management level where I do in a different perspective. I do not get into the project management daily this thing, but what I have done for the digital transformation is I divided the projects management in a different aspect. See, we kept something like very typically what we call waterfall model, or we call it agile. So I created two teams. One is a purely enterprise project. We'll look into all big solutions in the organization. Okay, because remember, as a big organization, we need to really create our core platform very well. And then on that, we need to bring in a lot of digital innovations. So I created two teams, as I said, one is purely project team and another is innovation team. They do almost similar job. But what they do, the project team, they look into, as I said, the more core solutions which the organization needs, whether you go into digital or not, but it will have a digital thinking. And I created an innovation team, or we call it small solutions, whose job is to look into the everyday or every small surrounding system or things that will help the core to to be more agile, to be more responsive, to be reaching the customer. So these two teams work very closely with each other. The innovation team, they follow the agile methodology. They cannot be like waterfall model because they have to come with very quickly result. But their dependency is on the main project team. And at the end of the day, both team work with the technology team. In the technology team also, I divided into two. You know, one is a core who will look into the core daily operation, BAU, and support the major project. Another is an agile team who will support the agile innovation. End of the day, again, agile innovation has certain, you know, we call our API interface, blah, 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 into our core system. That is very important. So these two teams, even though they work in a different aspect, but they are all very closely knitted. Because at the end of the day, for that satellite application to be successful, they have to pull data from the core system. And for the core system to be more expressing, I mean, I would put in a human word that the core system ability to be more expressed to the user or take it to the end user or to the customer, the front-end application need to work in knitted condition with the core system. So as you can see, so these two teams, I ensure, for me, what I do is for the innovation team, I make it that there are, of course, weekly updates to me, and then every 15 days to the management. This is another part of our digital learning to the management. Remember, I told you that if you do not educate, which Adnan Bhai touched upon, if you do not educate your management, your board on a regular basis, what's going on, you will not get the support, because digital is such a thing. If they don't understand it, there are still people in the change management are ready to, you know, sometimes they block it. So you understand what I'm trying to say. So that is very important. And for the main project, we ensure that every 1 month, there is a presentation of the project. What is the status of it? What is the resources? What is the timeline that is bursting? The cost that is bursting? And are we meeting it? What are the processes that are getting changed? What are the risks are coming? And, you know, usually I think we have very good few project managers, and I'm sure that PMI has given me the option to pick few from here in the future, because I can see a lot of good faces. So as you can understand, so of course we'll need those. And this is how I run, Jahir Bhai. I mean, as I said, I do not get into the daily project management job, but I ensure that I take the update from the project management team who follows the project methodology in a very neat. Thank you.
Thank you, Shyamol. Oh, well, summing up today's not to do list, I have, you know, jot down some of them. Fewer from Shyamol. Number one is not define the role while doing the transformation project. Number two is reinvest or re-engineering the process is missing. Inward thinking is missing. No clear scope of work or, you know, communication of scope of work is missing. Too much analysis is one of the not to do. And work in silo is also there. No analysis on data that has been collected. From Adnan's end, I have wrote down, number one is missing the right architecture aligned with the business vision. No incremental approach for solution. Not considering the complete value chain during the project. No spending on learning. Outsourcing 100% and not having process knowledge within you know, in-house team, and not aligned with whole organization. Well, for the panelists, there are a few questions, you know, parked in the QA session. I think you have already seen it. So we have 3 questions there. You can look into it and feel free to answer. So I will come back to you guys for answering it. So dear viewers, within the limited time, we have a lively session on digital transformation project pitfalls, which will help us to increase the success rates of our coming projects. Digital transformation is no longer an option, actually. It is a necessity. But doing digital transformation right is also essential. I hope today's session has given us some good understanding to do it right. Before we close, I would like to hear from both the panelists whether they want to answer the QA sessions. Shyamol and Adnan, can you see those questionnaires in QA session?
Yeah, I did.
Please,
I think the second question is very much relevant to me. And I think the first and third questions obviously would need Shyamol's expertise for the answers. So should I go ahead with the second question or should Shyamol start?
No, please, Adnan bhai, start.
Right.
I
Okay.
also will add up with you on the second question if you allow me.
Sure. Thank you so much. So the second question was, if I may read it out, was I slightly differed that thousands of techies are available in the market. Also tech with business background, how much is it really effective? Then what about the specialty in domain in the individual domain? So if I may answer, in a fast moving environment, you need to be more dynamic. The more knowledge, the more competency that you have would give you a better advantage. How we shape our structure, which might answer this question. So essentially in running a business, we have three teams working for that business. We have the core developers, the tech engineering team, we have the product team, we have the operations team. So these three teams actually make up one business for Shohoz. So when it comes to the business team are the subject matter expert, or the operations team is the subject matter expert in running an operations. So that is their complete portfolio of domain, and they're strong in that. The developers are those who are extremely hands-on and who are very good with tech knowledge. Now, where we have this product team, as I said in one of my answers, which is a very scarce resource as well in Bangladesh. So product team is something who are like best of both worlds. Because when it comes to us, the operations team, what we often tell our tech is build this, build that, build that, build that. And the tech are also, they're so good, they would say, oh, we can build all of them in 6 days. But the product team are the one who are the bridge. They can say, oh, if you build those 6 things, the architecture might collapse, or there might be some other things, there might be an opportunity cost in something else. They might also say, you might have asked for this feature. This feature in itself does not have business sense, but if I tweak this feature in this way, it can add significant more business value, and they can actually measure that value through analysis. So which is why if you are working in operations, you definitely need subject matter knowledge in that domain. But the product team, which is extremely important in every tech startup, you must have both tech and business knowledge. It's extremely crucial to business growth. I hope I managed to answer that question.
I will add Adnan bhai with you, because I think I said that thousands of techies are available in the market. So I'll take that. With due respect to all the attendees here, first of all, I apologize if I offended anybody. I did not, I believe. What I tried to say here is that, see, even now, in my last answer, I told to Zahir bhai that I divided into two parts. See, technology will be always there. The technology people will be always there. I told you, technology is the enabler. We are talking about here digital transformation. Digital transformation is not technology only. That's why I said the thousands of techies are there. There are a lot of techies in the market. We need all of them. But what do we need? What Adnan bhai said, we need that bridge to digitally transform. We expect you to understand, learn. We did not say you are not needed. You, of course, are. Everybody's needed. But if you can get that business insight, you can get that operational insight, each of you will be so valuable to the organization you cannot imagine. So that's what I'm trying to say, that technology is our base where we fall back, but we need to develop the new mindset, new innovation way of thinking. That is only the people with bit of business understanding can give us that. And the last, you also added, what about the specialty in individual domain? In technology, there'll be always specialty in individual domain. In Java, in cloud, so each of you are unique. So you will only add value only when the solution comes. You add value from each of your area. That is why everybody is important. But for digital transformation, it is very important to understand the customer perspective, market, and the data and the business. Very, very important. So that's why I said that. But all techies are needed, please. Okay. So now I'll go back to the first question. As the world is becoming digital, there will have a plethora of security issues, especially in financial transactions. Nowadays, hackers are active and they are always a step ahead. What should you do in terms of risk and security? One thing we need to remember, we never said that you become digital and forget about security. Security is a something 360-degree that should be covering the organization at all time. So remember, so whenever you're moving, see, you're doing technology automation now. Isn't that you're doing security? You are giving your mobile app, you're giving your internet banking. Isn't that you are putting two-factor authentication, you are putting different kind of security, you are putting firewall, you're putting WAF, so many things you're doing. Why are you doing that? Who said that tomorrow you become digital, that security will not be addressed? By default, security has to be present. Only thing, we need to be more innovative in security thinking. If we think, I tell you why, because this is what I experienced in my organization. When we tried to bring an app, we tried to keep the same firewall rule for accessing the app. So as a result, the user had a very bad experience. We didn't think that we may have to innovate the rule, or maybe modify the rule, or maybe put it in a lightweight or something so that the customer can just log in, but he's secured. We tried to do the same thing the way we did for our internet banking or blah, blah. See, when it goes to app, people want in 1 click, 2 click. You need to bring that experience. So as I always say, security cannot be obscurity. If you try to bring security, but you put so many things, so many locks around it, and then people can't access it, then it's not security. So with digital, with automation, with digital transformation, everywhere you go, security has to be 360-degree, always present. But please, along with the digital transformation, security also need innovation, which means you bring in lots of new technology where needed. Because as I told you about the two-factor authentication, we still think of OTP, we still think of software hardware token. But in the world, there are many things that's happened, which probably we'll see in the next 6 months, 1 year. Many banks are adopting those things. We need to be like that. Look at Facebook, look at other things, just like that, you can log in, you don't even feel it. So my request would be that, of course, security need to be there, but do not be block-minded, that you have to put security and, the risk is mitigated. It's not like that. Risk is not only saving the customer's account. Risk is not giving the customer the right experience also. So remember, security is always there. That is my, in terms of security and risk. And the last question, Adnan bhai, would you like to take it or you want me to answer? Third one?
You can start, right?
Okay, it says also if you can shed some light on performing risk assessment with threshold value on the perspective of your organization and information system security audit. I really did not get that. As I said, that it is omnipresent. Security and risk is omnipresent. So the threshold value depends on each organization, how you want to put it. But of course, when you are going into digital, the threshold value has to be well maintained, because when you are digital, things happen in less than nanoseconds. So you need to increase your threshold value. Of course, you need to look in whether you have to put a threshold value at all. These are the many things you need to look into. So as I said, I'm not very clear about the question. So I'm not getting deep into it. There is a fourth question. I think that's for Adnan bhai.
Yeah, so I think fintech is definitely exciting to most people, especially working in startups, especially companies like us who wants to build a super app. So I think when it comes to fintech, it can genuinely be the next big thing when it comes to startup disruptions. Just consider this fact: what is Shohoz? Shohoz wants to have solutions to your everyday problem. So it can have multiple products to solve every problem that you need, every solution that you need from morning to night. So Shohoz wants to be a platform like from when you wake up, everything that you do would be like transactions from one after another till you fall asleep. So for transactions, you would need payment. And if you can incorporate fintech to your product, it's the perfect solution to a super app. So when it comes to fintech, it's absolutely crucial in the long term for every startup that is growing up in Bangladesh. I hope that answers the question.
Adnan bhai, if you allow me, can I also share, because I think here they said onboard fintech means, I think they talked about the partnership, if I'm not wrong. How?
I thought about having a fintech platform. That was my interpretation.
Yeah, could you place criteria on onboard fintech? I mean, I think that some misconception in the market, fintech will maximize charge for digital transfer. I think what we are doing is, in terms of fintech, we are doing a lot of partnering. Let's say even with Shohoz, tomorrow we might do partnering. Adnan bhai, like Bcash, Govt, we are doing with Sheva XYZ, we are doing with ShopUp, we have done in the past. I think, yes, he just said it is partnership.
It's partnership. It's partnership.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yes, you're right. Could you please share some criteria on onboarding part fintech? Some misconception market that fintech will help maximum task of digital transfer. Of course, I tell you one thing. See, whoever asked the question, Mr. Kayum, fintech. See, if you try to do everything by yourself, that is the biggest mistake you'll do. That's why I said in the beginning that think like a fintech, act like a bank, doesn't matter. You be the bank, but there's no harm in thinking like a fintech, which means, see, if you try to see Shohoz, let's say I talk about Adnan Bhai's area, the truck and bus and all these area he runs. As a bank, can I really tomorrow go and draw such kind of network, create partnership and bring the valuation and transaction to my organization? I cannot. Or maybe I can.
It's not
but you know what I
efficient.
mean? It's not efficient. I have to spend a hell lot of money. That is not my area of expertise. So what do we need to do? Partner with company like that. What I can tell Adnan Bhai, whatever your bus truck, these transactions happen, can I be your partner at the back end? Can I be the gateway? Whatever the transactions take place there. So what happens immediately, Adnan Bhai draws and sees, because he's not a bank. So what he thinks, hey, that's not my area of working for banking. Why don't I sign up with him? That makes it easier for me, which they have done, which is nothing new. I'm just giving an example, Kayum, to your answer. So that's how the partnership will accelerate the market. That's how the partnership will accelerate your business, your productivity, your agility. So don't, Zahir bhai, I missed it to saying that don't try to do everything by yourself. In digital, the more partnership you do, your network becomes bigger.
Absolutely.
See, or company like that, they do more network effect, we call it. They increase their customer, they increase their network, their reach, their distributor, because they increase their valuation. For me, the more I get work with them, I increase my customer base, I increase my number of transactions. So at the end of the day, transferring or partnering with fintech doesn't mean that you are giving them all the job. They are doing the job for you, that is helping you to be efficient, because your programmers cannot do what they have done in lesser time. So you need to build complete capability.
Thank you, Shyamol Da. We have run out our time, but we really enjoyed it. We have really enjoyed it. Well, that was all from our side today. Our sincere gratitude to our panelists for joining the panel today. To all the viewers, stay safe and thank you for being with us. Have a good night.
Thank you.